Welcome to the Conscious Matchmaker. I'm your host, Sophie Singer, founder of Sophie Love, alongside Elizabeth Foster, lead executive matchmaker and conscious dating coach. Whether you're single or looking to enhance your relationship journey, let us support you in creating meaningful connections. Get ready for heart-to-heart conversations, expert insights, and a dose of compassionate wisdom. This is the Conscious Matchmaker. Let the journey to love begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our pilot episode, our maiden voyage of the Conscious Matchmaker. This is our first episode of this podcast. Really just experimenting and excited to start talking a little bit more about what we're doing here at Sophie Love. I want to introduce Elizabeth, who's here with me, my lead executive matchmaker. Elizabeth, please say hello.
Hi, hello. I'm so excited for us to be starting this. I'm Elizabeth. I'm the lead executive matchmaker with Sophie Love, and excited to go on this journey with you, Soph.
Oh, thank you. So I'll just call out that I'm a little nervous, even though literally it's just you and I sitting here recording. I don't know. It's like a big vulnerable thing to put ourselves out there. But side by side with that nervousness is excitement. So I think that this is definitely the right thing. Whenever I feel nervous and excited at the same time, it's a good sign. So, yeah. So I'll give a quick just introduction of myself. I've been date coaching and matchmaking for over 13 years. I'm 46 years old. I am the founder of this agency. I have been married for over 12 years to my husband, Michael, and also my business partner and co-founder of this company. And we have two kids, boy-girl twins, who are 10 and a half. And so our world is definitely a very interesting and fun, wild roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Elizabeth, can you give a little background on your kind of experience?
So I've been a coach in different aspects and a dating and relationship coach for the past 3 years. Was coaching more in the wellness space before that, and also been in the matchmaking space for about 3 years as well. So just to echo some of the stats that you gave as well, I'm 35 and was on the dating apps since their inaugural days, of trying to figure out how all of that works. I remember when Hinge was connected to Facebook still. And I actually met my partner on Hinge around this time last year, and we've been living together since June. So it's going really well. We're very happily in love.
Oh, yay. Okay. So, I think in this first episode, let's just, I think we want to just kind of tell our listeners, whoever's out there listening, maybe it'll be like 2 people or 5 or 10. I don't know. Just kind of talk about like conscious matchmaking, because that's what we're doing here. So what is conscious matchmaking? Because it says on my website, executive matchmaking for conscious singles. Really, for me, conscious matchmaking is like matchmaking from the inside out. The journey of matchmaking, I would say, for many years, and honestly, for my journey in dating and finding my husband, it was very much of an outward process, looking outward, searching for the missing piece of the
Mm-hmm.
puzzle. If I fill this, everything is great. I have friends and I have a career I like and I am healthy and but I don't feel happy and I want a partner and I wanted to get married and have children. And once I fill that thing, the getting married and the having kids, once I have that, I'm going to be good. This is going to be the puzzle will be complete and I'll be happy.
Mm.
Um, and searching for that person it really did feel on so many levels transactional, like a numbers game, a means to an end.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest, I was advising people in this way for years. Like, hey, this is a job. Let's get through it. Here are the skills. Here are the strategies to get through as many dates as you can. Find your partner, show up. Don't talk about things that might be heavy or dark or,
Mm.
keep
Keep it
it light.
light.
Keep it light. I said that all the time. Keep it light. And, yeah, my tune has really changed. And
Mm.
it changed when I started to turn inward about 2 years ago and started my own extremely transformative emotional healing journey where a million light bulbs went off. And I started to understand how I was moving through this world of dating and connection. And then it started to make perfect sense of how we all move through it in very similar ways, regardless of our stories and our backgrounds. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I really, for me, conscious matchmaking is a process where when we work with a client, this isn't just a transactional engagement. This isn't like, okay, here's my list of requirements. Here's what I need in a partner. Please find this person and introduce
Right.
me to them. No,
Yeah.
the process itself, dating, relationships, I mean, every important process in life is a mirror to us.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mirror that shows us, here, this is where the work is. This is where I need to
Mm.
grow. This is where I need to heal in order to be successful in whatever it is I'm doing. I really want this process to be transformative for my clients. And that is why the approach that we take, typically people meet someone to get into a relationship where they enter exclusive relationship usually within 12 to 18 months of starting to work with us. And sometimes that's with us. Sometimes it's through our introduction. Sometimes it's through someone they met on their own after they started this process, because the process is truly from the inside out. It's turning inward. And I'm really hoping that this can really be a vehicle. And you said this, Elizabeth, this process can be a vehicle to healing and growth.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's what we have to do in order to sustain a long-term relationship. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Elizabeth, do you have any thoughts on our conscious matchmaking approach?
I am always just very amazed at the way in which our clients are. It's like they blossom in this process. I think when we work with clients that really lean in and are willing to take a look at the patterns and the things that haven't worked for them and try something new, because this is new, it's different, and it is also scary, to show up
Mhm.
on a date more authentically and not in an interview capacity, to ask hard questions up front so that who the person is that you're looking for, and more about yourself. This is no easy task. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of vulnerability. And we really hold space for that. We really hold space for the ways that our clients are changing their dating life, changing their perspective on who they are in dating, what they're looking for in dating, and
Mm-hmm.
how to even just relate on a very, basic level on a first date. It can be as simple as that. So I'm always very, it warms my heart to see how our clients take this and run with it. And then, we get that message a couple of weeks later or, however long later, hey, I finally found somebody. I want to pause. I want to,
Mm.
it makes all the difference to see how this is really, transformative work. So.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, and it's I've been talking to single people for 13 years, like on a daily basis, and I know I felt these things myself, and now it's just affirmation, hearing it over and over. It's like today, it's the options are supposedly there. It's it feels there's just thousands and thousands of people on these apps, millions,
Mm. Yeah.
and everyone I talk to, I mean, they come to us and I sit down on a Zoom with them and they feel disconnected. I go on all these
Mhm.
dates. I feel deflated. I feel I'm not meeting anybody. My person is not there.
Mhm.
There's just this, it again, and then when we dive in, it's like, what's happening on these dates? What kind of conversations are you having? How are you feeling when you're going in? When you are approaching the process and experiencing it as work, as a job,
Mm.
as a
Yeah.
chore, as a
Yeah.
means to an end, that connection does not happen there. It just doesn't.
Mhm.
Rarely does it happen there.
Yeah.
And so the other, I would say, purpose and vision for us is to really bring people into a place where they are more deeply connected with themselves. They're able to slow down and they're able to welcome everything that's happening for them so that they can also welcome so much more in another person. We teach and coach authentic relating, which is a completely life changing relational practice that applies to all of life, but maps onto dating so perfectly. We've seen it's been amazing to watch how it's transformed the experience people are having going on dates. And that's also kind of what brings me to like our vision and our mission as like our company, which is still baking. We're still creating it, but I think we've got some really beautiful ideas down and I want to share those. I really want people to experience dating as something that feels nourishing, and enlivening, because when the experience turns to that, the connections are so much more effortless and so
Mhm.
much more plentiful and available. So
Yeah.
I want to just share our little company mission, actually our vision. So this is kind of grand. Um, our vision is for human connection to be experienced as nourishing, enlivening, and fun. A world where, in a world, my trailer voice, in a world
Yeah.
where any type of human connection can be experienced as healing, authentic, and nourishing for oneself and for the other. Our hope is that, our hope for impact is that people will go into connective experiences and interactions with an open mind and an open heart, unattached to the outcome. Connection is fun, connection is authentic, and connection feels good. And I'll
Mhm.
add, connection feels effortless.
Yeah.
Okay, now I want to talk about our mission because apparently companies have a vision and a mission. And so I love our mission.
Mhm.
Um, it really makes me excited. So I'm going to share it. Our mission is to compassionately guide our community into conscious and loving connection, both with themselves and their future life partner. We do this because meaningful connections and sustainable long-term relationships are created by a conscious and loving understanding of one's self. By reframing dating into an emotionally nourishing and enlivening experience, by utilizing psychology informed and evidence based modalities and practices.
Yeah. Just hearing that, it's like eases my body, eases my heart. Like I that's it's so needed. I mean, people are I was craving it. I was craving it for a long time before I even knew that that's what was out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just, I want to share, I'll just share a little bit of my personal background. It's like I went into dating and after a broken off engagement and started online dating because that was available at the time. This is like 15 years ago or more. Gosh, probably 20 years ago now. Um, before the swipe, before the
Mm.
Tinder, before the everything was on a website, email.
Yeah.
Um, and it was hard back then too. So it was really hard and like emotionally, just a roller coaster. And on top of it, now looking back, I realize, I came from, I would say, some pretty heavy capital T traumas that happened, just heavy stories that happened in my family, in my life. And there was just so much to manage and withhold and protect. And there was always this, there was first date Sophie, and I had not only, I mean, we all have our first date outfits that make us
Yeah.
feel good, and that's amazing. I'm all about that. But then there was first date Sophie, and I had my like prepared answers to certain
Mm.
questions that always came up on first dates, like, questions about my family, questions about my parents, and the story behind it, which I'll happily share at a later time. But the story behind my family and my parents and their marriage and what happened was quite heavy and disastrous, the kind of thing people like recoil when they first hear. They're like,
Mm.
oh my God, I thought that only happens in movies and television miniseries on Lifetime. And so I carried so much unresolved grief and shame around things that really had nothing to do with me. Like, obviously these things happen, life happens,
Mhm.
right? To us.
Yeah.
Um, and I just remember this burden that I carried on multiple levels. And then thinking about, oh God, this is going to be a burden to whoever I express it to. And
Mm.
when should I tell them? And how should I tell them? And are they like, do they like me enough? Have I like
Right.
won them over with the charming, funny, bubbly Sophie?
Mm.
And now I can drop the drama bomb.
Mhm.
And it was just so hard, like how much energy went into that. Yeah. So it's interesting because I get to know people now, and I think you do too, Elizabeth, on this like intimate level when we meet them.
Yeah.
And then they show up oftentimes again, like it's natural. We show up as these like ambassadors for ourselves, these
Mhm.
glossy versions,
Yeah.
thinking that that's what people are going to connect to. And it's not the case actually. So any kind of thoughts on that, Liz?
I think what you were talking about, having this like glossy version of yourself, is something that people, myself included, like that's kind of the expectation of a first date, right? Like show up as your best, don't divulge too much. Don't get, like you said, like keep it light, we want to get past a first date to a second date. And so if we show up as this like masked kind of pretty or put together version of ourselves, which everybody has their stuff. I don't care what your background is, everybody has something. So that doesn't work. It keeps things really kind of in a box, and it keeps ourselves, it keeps our heart, it keeps our experience in this box that, we can go down the rabbit hole of like how we got there in society and why we do this. But, you know, I think what you're speaking to is this idea that if we get vulnerable on a first date, if we really reveal our experience on a first date, even so much as to say, how is this date going for you? What do you
Yeah.
think about this experience? Like you say all the time, like just this is the experience that you and I are having together. How is this going for you in this moment? I'm noticing this in myself, and it doesn't have to be these big, like huge, like you mentioned, like big drama bombs. It doesn't have to
No,
be like that. It can just be
no.
like, this is the vulnerability of me in this experience with you, this new person that I have never met before. And I'm noticing this happening within me. How does it
Mm,
feel to you to hear that? How does it feel to you in this experience, And that alone, because you're dropping into the space, and I'm sure there will be episodes where we talk about all of this, much more in
yeah.
depth, but like we drop into that space of the present moment. And that's juice. That's the juice. Like that is where we find that connection. Like nobody's talking about what their experience is on the date. Nobody's talking about that. They're like, "Oh, what do you do for a job? How many kids do you want?"
They're
All of
having,
these things.
yeah, the conversation is happening while there's a completely different experience going on
Yeah,
within all of us. Them,
exactly.
you, it's like there's thoughts, there's assumptions happening. And so I really, I mean, for me, the most, one of the most powerful parts of this process and what I want to impart to every person, learn these skills of slowing down, noticing what's actually happening, revealing that. And we'll talk about that. I think we will talk about this in another episode. I really love the 3 levels of conversation. I think that that is one of the best lessons and skills and tools to go into a first date with. But I'll give a quick preview is that level 1 is fact exchange. I am a matchmaker. Elizabeth works with me.
Hmm.
It's gloomy outside. We're recording a podcast right now. These are facts. This
Yeah,
this restaurant is crowded. Whatever it is, you know.
yeah.
I went on a trip last week. Then there's level 2, which are feelings about facts. Usually level
Hmm.
2 lives in the future or the past. Oh, I love being a matchmaker. I loved this trip I went on. I don't like that
Hmm.
it's gloomy outside. I'm annoyed that it's crowded in this restaurant. So that's a deeper level because it's giving you some feelings. You're
Yeah.
learning more about the person. They're learning more about you. And most conversations just level out right there at level
Hmm.
2. They just bottom out, but level 3 is where the juice is. Level 3 is the relational level, and it is in the what is happening between you and that person in the given moment, the present moment. And it's
Hmm.
shining a light on what's currently alive for you and for them. And that's
Yeah.
always unscripted, it's always new. No moment is the same as any other moment. And to
Hmm.
me, as Ryle Castano, my amazing co creator for Closer Events and the writer of the Authentic Relating book, says, it is truly the antidote to dating boredom.
Yeah.
So if you're sick of having the same conversation over and over on the dates that you're going to, I'm just going to, I think this is a good place to like leave everyone, just like a
Yeah.
nugget. If you are sick of the types of conversations you're having on these dates, okay? If you're feeling deflated and disconnected and bored, bring it to the present moment.
Mm.
As simple as that question that you posed earlier, Liz. Hey, I know this is a weird question to ask, but I'm really trying to focus more on slowing down and noticing what's happening for me. And I'm curious to know, and I'm posing this question to myself as well. How is this date going so far? How's this interaction going for you? Like, and you don't have to answer right away. You can even take a moment to
Hmm.
take a breath and notice how it's going.
Yeah.
And I'm posing it for myself too. And like, what's it like to be with me right now here in this
Yeah.
bar, in this
Yeah.
restaurant? How are you experiencing me? And the conversation will really change the vibe, the pace, everything.
Hmm.
So that's going to be my parting nugget of
I love that.
authentic dating advice. Liz, do you want to offer up a couple of things that your hopes and dreams for this little project we're starting?
Yeah. I mean, my biggest hope is that we can really make a difference for even like one person, if one person is hearing that little nugget and they change their next first date and notice that difference, that is amazing. Like that is what we're doing this for to me. And I really hope that we can help support, our guests, our clients, our any listener who is tuning into this, and just answer some of those harder questions that come with dating too. What our experiences as matchmakers, as people who have been in the dating world, and people who talk to singles all the time and know, really what's going on and how to improve our experience, not only as daters, but also in relationship as well. When we get to, long-term or even short-term partnership, whatever that looks like, how do we show up better? How do we sustain this? How do we be most authentically ourselves? And how do we be the truest version of ourselves and represent that in the best way? So I'm excited to see where this goes, and I hope that it's helpful.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. So uh, to add on to that, my goal for this podcast is to continue my why for existence. I
Mm-hmm.
know it's like a existential question, but the more and more I've been kind of diving into my why of like why I'm here and
Mm-hmm.
what's most important to me in life.
Yeah.
And those things are love and human connection
Mm-hmm.
and relationships, and also the resilience of the human spirit. If I can find ways and tools and ideas to allow for even one more person to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel held, to feel understood, that's good. That's good enough for me. That's more than good enough. And yeah, so I'm really hoping that we can bring more opportunities to serve this purpose for everyone. Like I said, skills and ideas and just opportunities for people to experience human connection in a deeply meaningful way. Because
Mm-hmm.
when we do that, when we slow down, connection happens. It happens. It does not happen in our minds. It happens in our
Right.
hearts and in our bodies. And so hopefully this is the beginning of many more opportunities to bring people into their hearts. And with that,
I love that.
I'll sign off and excited to record number 2 soon.
All right.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you, Sophie.
Bye, everyone.